Branson, Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs, Ochame Kwame, and a host of accomplished people have in common? Did you even know that there was a challenge they had to overcome, sometimes with great difficulty, in their childhoods? Let's find out from somebody who has lived it, learned about it, conquered it, and become an advocate for others struggling with this all-important subject of dyslexia.
Turning point, yeah.
He's a turnaround.
Hello and welcome to Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Albert Ocran. Welcoming to Ghana's foremost developmental program and that place where the greatest minds in the world converge. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Ratio Foundation and proudly sponsored by MTN Ghana and the Enterprise Group, with media support from the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Communications Group. So today we continue exploring untapped opportunities. And today I feel very blessed because we are talking about the untold story of people with dyslexia. Rosalin Kyere-Nartey is the founder and the leader of Africa Dyslexia Organization. Rosalin, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to meet you.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. And thanks for committing yourself to helping others overcome what was obviously your pain in your childhood. But let's start unpacking it. What exactly is dyslexia and why is it so little known?
Thank you so much. This subject is very dear to me. And just as a lot of people don't know about it, I got to know about it 7 years ago. And that's when I got diagnosed. So dyslexia is a learning disorder or a learning challenge. I love to call it a learning difference, but it's characterized under disability. It's basically a learning challenges that is associated with decoding and encoding of words. So what I mean is children who have it difficult in learning the phonological processes in words find it challenges in reading and writing. So if they find challenge in reading and writing, then definitely there will be challenge with other subjects because reading runs through almost all subjects, including mathematics. And so that's where children then it becomes a difficult moment in their time when they are studying and they are not progressing. But unfortunately, in our part of the world, dyslexia is not known at all.
I had a very amazing discussion with my good friend and brother Ochame Kwame. I love Ochame and his wife Anika. And in the conversation, he tells very, very passionately about how growing up, his parents genuinely didn't know that he had dyslexia. And so they just thought he was dumb. And because his father was an accountant, I think,
Yes.
and the mother, both of them had great expectations of him. And so the frustration with his learning differences, as you call them, led to him being beaten both by his parents, and unfortunately, they actually hand him over to the teachers to continue the beating. But let's help somebody who does not even understand or may not even have heard the word before. Is this something that you are born with, something that is genetic, and how does it manifest?
Dyslexia is genetic. A lot of research, world-renowned research, even from Harvard and all, have concluded that it is mainly genetic. But as to what exactly contributes to it, we don't know, apart from it being genetic. And about 3 months ago, I chanced on a research that also talked about if a mother is exposed to things like nicotine and some harmful substances during the pregnancy, then there is a tendency in the neurodevelopmental of a child when growing up, and it's likely to manifest into dyslexia. But this is a research that I chanced on it, which it's quite new to me because since 7 years ago, researching and reading about dyslexia, I've known it to be genetic related only. However, I know that a lot of neuroscience trying to kind of investigate more. But for now, the key pinpoint to it will be genetic.
Let's leave that to the experts in
Yeah.
neuroscience
Yeah.
and explore the front-facing side of it, the everyday side of it. How widespread is this peculiar?
It is very, very widespread, and it's unfortunate that in Ghana, in Africa in general, very little is known about dyslexia. Research says that 1 in 5 is likely to be dyslexic. So if you take the entire population of Africa, that means likely between 50 to 20% of our population is likely to be dyslexic. And when you started the conversation, you started mentioning names like Albert Einstein, Richard Branson, Leonardo da Vinci. You mentioning all these names who are great problem solvers, innovative, creative thinkers, who did so many great things, are still doing, those who are alive are still doing amazing things in the world. But how many of them are Africans? If you Google people who are dyslexic, how many of them are Africans? We have black people in a few, very minute percent of black people who are listed that, oh, these are black people who are doing amazing things and they are dyslexic. But even out of that, how many of them are Africans? So then it tells you that we as Africans, we as Ghanaians, those children that are in our classroom from the very beginning, who are struggling to learn, who are struggling to perform in academics, we label them, quote unquote, blockheaded in our Akan language, mutiabon, by caning them, by excluding them. Usually you make them feel very low self-esteem, which I experienced it. And that's what Ochiame Kwame described to you, that the parents were caning him because they just don't understand that why is it that your siblings are performing? Why is it that we are smart and you turn out to be that blockheaded? Which is very sad. So assuming Ochiame Kwame was like, I'm fed up, let me leave the house, and landed on the street, this unique talent of him would never have come into being for us to experience the Ochiame Kwame we're seeing.
Which means that from your description, it's possible that a child whose parents do not know that they have dyslexia could suffer significant psychological pressure.
Absolutely. This is not a research on Ghana, but for US. A lot of the males in the US prison have been diagnosed with learning challenges. And it was as a result of them having learning challenges and being frustrated and getting out of the school and just joining different groups and being on the street led them to one thing, and one thing led to the other, and they landed in school. It's a research you can follow. So it shows that a lot of talent is being wasted.
And you're telling me you found this out only 7 years ago?
Only 7 years ago.
Let's rewind to the beginnings and your own story or your own journey. Tell me about your childhood and what you now know to be dyslexia, but how it manifested in your childhood and your learning.
Thank you so much. So my childhood, up to where I could remember, was I think at the age of 8. I was living with my grandmother in a place called Aroso, around the Asinfusu side. And my cousins came from Accra for Christmas. And so when they came, they brought these books with them, like we're almost the same age, and then the youngest was like 4. So they brought these books with them, very colorful books, and they were reading. And then one of my cousins just said, "Oh, Rosalin, come, take and read a chapter." And I took the book, thinking I would be able to read. And I couldn't identify even a word in the book. And they kept looking, "Oh, read, why are you standing? Read. And I said, "I can't read." And these guys started laughing. You know how kids are.
Yes.
They started laughing, and I ran into the room and cried. So when they left, for that Christmas, I never enjoyed it. But when they left, I then started telling my grandmother I also want to go to Accra. Because in my mind as a young girl, I was thinking because I'm
It is
living in
Accra.
the village with her, then when I go to Accra, I will be very good. But then the school I was going in Arosut was a very good school. And so now being an adult, I realized that even people are in a typical rural area and they still get the concept of learning and they pass and become first class and all that. So that wasn't the issue. So I challenged my grandma that became very stubborn, and finally my dad came for me. So when he came for me, they took me to Suhum. I didn't come to Accra, but they took me to Suhum and I enrolled in school. Unfortunately for me, the house we stayed in, or the home, was a compound house with my aunt, and there were kids in this compound house. Amazing, brilliant students. And so this was me facing another children who asked you, write your name. Write your full name. And you know, my name is long, so write your full name. And I couldn't do it. So that was where I started becoming aware that I'm having challenges in school, and my aunt started paying attention and informing my dad that no, this girl is not picking up. So I changed school again to go to even a better school. The teachers did and did and did and did. I was not able to read.
From the little you can recall, what was the biggest challenge? Was it reading or math?
So it was more of reading and also math. So when we come a bit further, I show how there are comorbidity issues where you can be dyslexic and also struggle with dyscalculia, which is related to mathematics. And so I wasn't good in any of this. The only thing I was very much interested in, I was interested in sports. I make songs from every little words that I hear. You hear me composing. But those are talents that have been lost because nobody was watching me. Excursion, I'm very good. I love to go and play outside. So I was labeled that this girl, you don't like academics, you're so lazy, you're dumb, you're stupid. But then when we get outside, you are a different personality. And so that's what happened. And the fond memories I remember is when we do mentals and dictations. And you know, dictations, they will cane you. So if it's 20 questions, that means I'm getting
20 lashes.
20 lashes.
That must have been
If
very
it's
traumatic.
mental, 7 times this, and you have to say the answer. If you don't say the answer, then they can continue. And I experienced that throughout. And I was growing. I was repeating class. So here I was in JHS 3. And I was 17, almost turning 18. You all know that at that time I should be finishing high school instead. So my parents were like, now, this year, dear, you have to graduate from JHS 3 and see what life we can do with life. And so we told the school that I want to register for the BC exams. I was in they had to just push me just for pushing sake. And the school was like, unfortunately, we can't register her.
Why?
In the school because we are high performing school. Our grades are good. With the way Rosalin is, if we add her to her mate to write the exams, she's going to spoil our grade.
Did you find out? Did they tell you?
They told me in front of me and my parents.
How did you feel?
You see, the moment I said that, my mood switched. That moment, I just didn't know what to say. I couldn't say anything. It was the saddest moment in my life because, and then they asked, so what do you propose? So, well, maybe you drive a little bit far from Suhum and you find a public school and maybe they might register her. But what we can do is, I was in the boarding school. What we can do is she can still be part of her team to study everything. And the week for the BC, when we get to the center, then she joins the school that she's going because we all write at the same center. And so my parent did that, and we went to a village school near Suhum, and I got a headmaster who was like, I'll give it a try. They registered me, and we weren't wearing the yellow and brown. That's not what I was used to, but they sold me that uniform, and I had that uniform with me at the boarding house. So during the week of the exams, when they are dressed in their school uniform, I dressed in mine and then joined them in the car, and then they take us and I go.
On the way to sorry, I'm sorry. I really am sorry. I'm sorry about this. I'm sorry, Rose. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. It's okay. This is Springboard, your virtual university, a conversation about dyslexia, and my guest thankfully using her story and her pain to help other people who may be going through the same situation. It's a very emotional edition of the program, but I'm so grateful to Rosalin Abigail Kyere-Nartey for sacrificing to use her story. I'm inspired by what she's achieved. I've followed her on social media, watched her podcasts, and we just felt that this would be a very important moment to bring Rosalin into the studio and let her speak to somebody, a parent, a teacher, a child who's totally unaware of the peculiarity of the situation and is probably applying themselves in the wrong way to try and solve a problem they don't even understand. And it's our hope that after this, it will bring some encouragement, some hope, and importantly, some direction to somebody with dyslexia. So, Rosalin, thank you for even agreeing to do this, and we'll pause for a moment for you to gather yourself, and if you would like to continue, we are happy to do so, and if not, we understand so much, because
we can continue.
It's much more about your well-being than anything else. Are you good?
Yes.
And thanks again just for doing this. My respect for you has gone even higher. Let's take a brief commercial break for a minute to allow Rosalin to grab a drink, compose herself, and we come back. Let's find out, on the way to the exam, wearing a different uniform from all your colleagues, how did it feel? And by the way, when we do that to these children, unaware of the peculiarities of what they are going through, what kind of damage do we do to them inadvertently, because we assume that their presence will contaminate our exam results? Please don't go away.
Hello? Bye.
Well, everybody's heard about the bird. Bird, bird, bird is the word. Bird, bird, bird is the word. Well, don't you know about the bird? Well, everybody knows that the bird is the word. Bird, bird, bird is the word.
To consider the implications.
Hello? Everybody knows that the bird is the word. When a bird,
Whether it's 1924, 2024, or 2124, we've always known that you are driven by your sense of safety and well-being. It is what drives us to see you through from start to finish, from small to big. And in the last 100 years, as you have evolved, so have we also expanded to serve you in many ways. From cradle to grave, with expertise in insurance, life, pensions, properties, health, and for those beautiful memorable goodbyes. It's 2024, and in all our markets, our pedigree is recognized, our strength respected, our expertise valued, and our solutions sought by all who desire an advantage in life. Experience the time-tested and truly trusted 100 years legacy of Ghana's oldest insurer. Take charge of your future now. Insurance, life, pensions, property management, funeral services, health insurance. Enterprise, your advantage.
This be me, Kobe, aka Kube Boga, KB for short. And this is my sweetheart, Obahima. Today, I get big surprise for her. Charlie, gone are the days I couldn't spoil my girl. Now I'm engaged to the woman of my dreams. Don't just look at my success. To get here, I had to follow the process. Out of nowhere, I lost my job. But I believe in humble beginnings. I got an idea that I knew I could grow. I started from a small setup, then invested in growing my own coconuts. I then grew my product lines. Now, I sell to many supermarkets in the country. Fellow young Ghanaians, trust the process and keep hope alive.
Take advantage of agribusiness through the Ghana Grows program. Ghana Grows, Hope Day.
Welcome back to Springboard of Virtual University and to this powerful conversation with Rosalin Abigail Kyere-Nartey, the president or the founder of the Africa Dyslexia Organization. Rosalin has been sharing her story and has touched all of us in a very special way, sharing about the pain of her childhood. I'll take a pause to bring you a message from our sponsors again. This Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Ratio Foundation and proudly sponsored by MTN Ghana and the Enterprise Group. Talking about the Enterprise Group, the question for the day in the Enterprise Advantage tip: how do you claim a medical service refund and how long does it take to get it? So the response from Enterprise is submit receipts and all supporting documents to Acacia and you will receive your refund processed directly into your account within 14 days. The magic number is 14 days. Within 14 days, you will get the refund. This tip is brought to you by the Enterprise Group. The number to call 030-263-4777 and the email is info@myenterprisegroup.io. Enterprise, your advantage. Just to also mention that the Ghana Grows Call Center, the number to call for information about opportunities in agriculture, agribusiness and ATVET is 030-8255-775. If you are a young person seeking to explore opportunities in these spaces, just call the call center or WhatsApp them and they will be happy to share upcoming opportunities with you. You can also dial the short code *718*50# to join a community of young people in that same age bracket who are the first to get to know about every opportunity that we hear. They also receive mentoring from experienced practitioners, and of course, they are also guided constantly on job readiness tips. So the number to call again 030-8255-775 or dial the short code *718*50#. Rosalin, thanks for lending us the pages of your story. Have you thought about writing a book?
I am writing.
You're writing.
Yes.
The day you decide to release it, put me as number 1 on the guest list. I'll be there to support you.
I'll bring it to you to read before we publish.
It will be my pleasure.
Yes.
It will be my pleasure. So before we went on a break, you were sharing about the tough experience of being in a school in the Suhum area and the school not wanting you to spoil their results because of dyslexia and therefore putting you in a different, you having to wear a different uniform to travel with your colleagues to an exam center to go and write under the umbrella of a different school. Tell us about the experience and how it worked out.
The experience was horrifying. I'll give you an instance.
How old were you then?
17, almost turning 18.
And
I think we
even
were-
writing BEC
yeah.
at that age was itself quite traumatic.
Yes.
And then you added this one too. Okay.
Yes. So here, imagine when you change school, you go to a new school when you were a child, you always feel like, oh my God, this is a new environment. Who is here? Who is there? And for me, this had to happen during exams time. So the first time I came in contact with this group that I was writing exams with was the first day.
Wow.
They've never seen me anywhere. I've never seen them before. And everybody's like looking at me, where is she from and all that. And then because I couldn't talk about it also to my own mates, when they saw me wearing this uniform for the first time, they were like, what is going on here? So there were so many people I need to answer question, like their questions. And so that moment was not fun at all, but I had to just go through, and I managed to write the exams. I remember I wrote the BEC exams. I could tell you that about 80 to 90% of whatever was on the papers, I didn't know what, I couldn't read them even at that moment. Because around 17 was when my reading started picking up. So I really didn't make sense of anything. The results came and I failed. And everybody was getting to school. The funny thing is, I wasn't good, but when we were to choose school, I was selecting schools like Wesley girls and
Why
Bray
not?
girls and all that.
It's just we're wondering, this girl,
So it came and I didn't get any school. I had failed poorly, and everybody was like, we said it. We said you are not serious. You don't take anything serious. You only love to play. You are very stubborn. Also, because of the experiences I was going through, and always teachers saying you're lazy, you are stupid, you're dumb, and coming back home and parents are asking, let me see your report. So you're still not passing. All you, these little ones you are, because I was 17. So everybody who I was in class is younger than me. All of them are passing it. So because of that, I developed a very stubborn character to just defend myself. And so when it came and I had failed, they said, yeah, you see, you're very stubborn.
Did you have siblings?
I have siblings and they were going to school. I'm the eldest, so I needed to prove example as well. And some of them were quite good. And so they said, yeah, we said it. You see, you don't learn. You are very stubborn and all that. And that phase came and the reality was, now what do you want to do? Because no school will take you at this point. So maybe let's think about what skills you want to learn. Do you want to learn hairstyling or go and learn how to sew? I mean, this time, if you're going to learn hairstyling, great, because we have done a very good branding on the industry and also fashion. But at that time, it wasn't fashion. It was like, go and learn tailoring. And so I knew if I had gone to any of them, I wouldn't do good because those are not my skill sets. So during those time of conversation and everything and everybody going to school, there is a friend, I had a friend, Evans, who was a year ahead of me. So Evans came home one time and I spoke to him that, hey, this is what is going on. I'm not getting to go to school, but these are what the options my parents are suggesting. So what do you think? And he said, no, I don't think that would be your talent. But you remember your aunts love to travel. And so all the time, you get us to come to the house and you cook for them. You cook for us. And I said, yeah, what is that about? I said, and he said, oh, I think your talent is through cooking. And I said, cooking, is that also a thing to go to school for? He said, yeah, you could go to a catering school and learn culinary and you can become a chef one day. And I said, really? But then my result is not good. And he said, oh, as for culinary school, they might consider you. You also know that in Ghana, we classify those people who go to vocational and technical school as people who are, quote unquote, like people who can't learn properly. So he said, well, they can take you. It's better than you going to learn like hairstyling. So we applied.
It used to be the case, but it's changed now.
It's changed, and
Completely.
I love it so much.
Yeah, all the things you mentioned that in those days were seen as second grade careers.
Yes.
By the grace of God, we've
It has
moved
changed.
on, and now these are very competitive
Absolutely.
with high requirements.
Absolutely.
So how do you navigate away for it then?
So then when he suggested that, I told my dad about it and said, oh, he knew that going to a catering school involved a lot of spending because you're doing practicals every day. So he said, are we going to waste another money for 3 years? And I said, please give me that opportunity. Let's go. So with Evans, we were able to get the details of the school and bought a prospectus, and luckily I got accepted there. So I ended up going to the school, and so we got to Liberty Specialist Institute in Koforidia, and the first thing my dad did was to see the proprietress and informed her about my behavior and my challenges, that I'm not good with studies and I'm very stubborn, and but she should just allow me to walk through that school for 3 years, and let's see what comes out of me. And by what daddy didn't know, or nobody knew, was that that school setting at Liberty Specialist Institute was what I needed. So we started, and I started loving school for the first time. I enjoyed, because we do practicals, we do things, and then my mind, I don't know how it happened, I call it miracle. My mind started opening up. And now it makes sense to me as to why that happened, because I'm working on dyslexia and I understand the different form in which we all learn. And so I learn by doing, using my hands, practical, hands-on.
So kinesthetic learning.
Kinesthetic learner and a visual learner. So you need
so
to
what you see,
what
what
I
you
see,
do.
what I do is what I excel in. And so I started becoming very well in school, and it shocked the teachers, it shocked the proprietors. At the end of that very term, when my dad came to pick me, the proprietress called him and said, Mr. Chere, is this the same daughter that you described when you brought her to school? He said, is she in trouble?
Now that's very funny.
He said, no, she's not in trouble. But your daughter is different. Your daughter loves school. She's very good academically. She loves to cook. Her creations is good. So I believe this girl is up to something. And they showed him my report and said, are you sure this is my daughter's report?
Goodness.
And we took it. But for me, during that conversation they were having, what I picked on was, this was my first time, as far as I can remember, where an educator was saying that she is good. Because I always heard she's not good. She's lazy.
Let me pause and ask you about the power of affirmation. She's good. What did it do to you?
Oh my goodness. When I heard that word, it just clicked in my mind. And when we were going home, sitting in the car, I said, oh my God.
She's good.
She said, I'm good. Then from this moment,
I'll be good.
I will be good in everything and anywhere I go. And those words that I whispered to my own self.
Do you remember her name?
Yes, Mrs. Edna Amiteme. She's the owner of the school.
May the Lord bless Mrs. Edna Amiteme for those 3 words. She is good.
Yeah.
It's a life-changing seed. And may God bless Evans.
Yes.
Who showed you an alternative to your future. Wow.
God bless all of them.
Yes. Yes. And all those who just pointed you to the to hope.
Absolutely.
And so you go home and you're like, she said it.
She said it. And I'm like, wow. For the first time in my life, my dad didn't hear that she got into trouble. She was cheating, because I had to find a way to survive. So I was copying, and sometimes they'll catch me. And so now it's not like that, but she's good. So when I came back the next term, I enrolled myself with Red Cross. That was where I started volunteering, where Red Cross was doing a lot of awareness on peer education for HIV and AIDS. And sexual reproductive health for young people. So I enrolled and they trained us. So we go around Koforidia, different schools, and we were engaging with our peers, talking. I became the class rep immediately. The next term, yes, I became the class rep. I was the class rep throughout the day I graduated. I was involving myself in any extracurricular activity. I was studying more. Sometimes the words I can't pronounce, I'll go to the teacher, pronounce it for me. And because it's very practical, now the words I'm seeing are practical books, the cookery, the recipe and all that. I'm matching it with the items we are buying. So you're talking about flour, and I see the flour, and I look at it visually, it sticks, and then I look at the spelling, and if I don't know how it happens,
But
but
you connect.
I connect it, and that was how my reading started improving. So as I'm speaking with you, grammarly, I don't know my punctuations and where to stop and all that. I'll make those mistakes because it's not something that was intervened when I was young. So I still haven't corrected them, but I'm able to manage my way through life. So I finished Liberty Specialist Institute, and before I finished, when I was in my second year, Mrs. Edmana Ameteme, the husband, who is a chef, came and announced that, hey, there is an internship in Accra, but it's going for final year students. I was in second year. And you need to go and do interview. You need to have your CV prepared as well. So whoever is in, it's for one person, whoever is interested, come to my office after and I'll give you the rest of the information. They announced it on Wednesday. The following week came Wednesday. He came back and said nobody showed up. All the seniors didn't show up. So immediately I heard that. I ran to the office when we
First
finished
person.
and I said, say, can I go for that internship? He said, no, but this is for seniors. And I said, yeah, but nobody's showing up. So let me go. He said, are you sure? I said, yes. Immediately I went to the payphone, called Evans, and I said, Evans, there's this opportunity at Crystal Royal Hotel, now Fiesta Royal Hotel. So please, we need to get this done. I need a CV. So then I started telling him I'm with the Red Cross, I'm the class rep, I'm this. And he developed this one pager, my first CV.
Wow.
And we got the information, came to Accra. Evans met me at Medina, and we went to Crystal Royal Hotel, now Fiesta Royal. And guess what? There was no interview. They just asked common questions. Do you have somewhere you will stay? This is the scope of the internship. Can you do it? I said yes. So the seniors missed the opportunity. I took that opportunity and I did so well. They asked me to go to different departments, even though I did culinary. I started from the kitchen. But the HR also took interest in me and made me go to all the departments within the hotel. And so during the time we finished, she called and said, you will be very good with the hospitality industry. When you go back to school, start reading about hospitality. And one day, if you decide to go to university, you have to study hospitality. So I went back to school and finished. And I came back to work in Fiesta Royal. And that set my journey in hospitality industry. So I started going to school again.
This is Springboard, your virtual university. If you've watched and you're watching on TV and seeing me just staring at my guest for today, is because I'm listening to the very captivating story of Rosalin Abigail Kyere-Nartey, telling a story about pain, about learning, about self-awareness, about triumph. And in between, loved ones who loved her but struggled to cope with her peculiarity. A father who loved her and wanted to help but was confused about what he was seeing. And in the midst of it all, a God above who brought people like Madam Edna Evans at the right time to help her navigate her way forward. Let's come back to you, Rosalin, and find out how you finally found out you were dyslexic and how that led to what you do now, advocating across the continent for people with dyslexia.
Oh, thank you. So I started using my story. At first, I was very shy to say that, oh, I was 17 when I couldn't read and I started reading and writing. So I think I started saying to people, when I was 13, I couldn't read and write, just to lower it. And so I used to share this story a lot in programs that I attend, that if this was my challenge, then you have no excuse if you are here and you're in high school, you're in the university, to fail. So after that particular, this was in 2015. After that program, we did it at Lancaster University. And Farida Bedouin was there, and she said, Rosalin.
Good friend of ours.
Yes. She said, Rosalin, I've heard you many times saying this. Don't you think you are dyslexic? And I said, what are you saying? He said, don't you think you have dyslexia? And I said, is that a sickness or an illness or what is it?
Goodness.
And she said, go and read about it. I respect her so much. So I said, yes, I will go and read. The moment I left that place, I said, me, the way I've suffered in my life, I should go and research some dyslexia and put on myself. No, I'm not doing this. So that was where it ended. I never researched about it. Then in 2016, I decided to do my master's. And I was doing my master's in Switzerland. And it came up again from a teacher that I was working with on a project and asked me if, Rosalin, you are dyslexic. And I was like, oh, hold on, again? What is it? She said, no, I've observed certain things about you that I feel like you're dyslexic. Well, here is the link. Go to the International Dyslexia Association website. They have an online screener. They read as much as you can and come back to me.
Pause right there. So, for the benefit of our listeners and viewers, let's just break this down. Farida saw something. Being the experienced person that she is and being the advocate that she is, she could tell. Cross over thousands of kilometers to Switzerland. Your teacher or your supervisor or your lecturer who does not know Farida says the same thing. What symptoms did he think he was, or he or she think they were seeing that made them suggest that? And secondly, where did they tell you to go and look? Just so that if somebody's listening, they say, let me go and look there too.
Okay. So for Farida, because she had listened to my story over and over, and I think I one time chipped it in on when I did a talk on TEDx Accra. And so she was like, I think you are dyslexic. And even to give you a deeper understanding, when she said it, our friend Elizabeth Patterson, who is the founder of Girls Education Initiative, assessed her children, the girls in her club, for dyslexia. And I knew about it. But because I had blocked my mind from Farida's advice, I never took interest in it. And I said, no, I don't want. Because the word dyslexia is heavy. So to me, it was like some form of illness that I'm going to pick on me. And I don't want anybody picking up on me again. I've had enough. So now 2016, when this lecturer of mine met me, it was mistakes because I was writing for him. And he saw mistakes. And sometimes when I'm with him and he gives me something to read to him, you see, I'm omitting some words and I'm finding it difficult. And he could see me when I start reading, and it happens a lot.
The discomfort, okay.
Then the discomforts in reading, especially when I'm to present something in class, then the discomfort. I can talk without anything, but the moment I start looking, then I start. So he called and said, are you dyslexic? And I said, what? I've heard it once. What are you talking about? So he said, well, go to International Dyslexia Association website. And I went to the IDA website and I was like, what is this? Everything that they described on the website and the screening that they have on it, the online screening, described me. It's asking questions of my challenges, everything that I experienced. Like, do you have short attention span when learning? Yes, I can only give you my attention for 30 minutes when I'm learning. I need a break and come back. But our teachers don't know. So I checked almost everything on the screening. And then I went back to him and I said, yes, I think there might be a concern here because everything that is on that website is describing me. And so he said, well...
So it's International Dyslexia Association.
Yes.
So it's dyslexiada.org.
Yes.
And the test is right there.
Yes.
Dyslexiada.org.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to research it further after we finish.
So I all the questionnaire there was me.
Did it help you to be more relaxed or calm, or did it scare you?
So when I found out, then immediately I was like, so who are the people who are dyslexic? Then I started seeing, I saw Whoopi Goldberg first, and I was like, this woman, I've watched her so much on television. Then I saw Richard Branson. My interest started building up, and I went back to him and I said, I think there is an issue here. Maybe, I'm not sure. But I ticked for everything, and he said, well, even with that assessment, I can tell that you are dyslexic. So you need to do a proper, have a licensed assessor assess you to determine. And so I did the assessment.
Is it available everywhere in the world?
Yes, we have some people here who do assessments
So you
in
go
Ghana.
to a professional.
You go to a professional educational psychologist or a clinical psychologist, and they are able to, as long as, so they can be psychologists, but if they haven't taken training and have the license for it, which takes about 2 years for this course, then they can't do. But once they have and they have the tools, then they can do for you. So I did my assessment, and it came out that I'm dyslexic. Still, my mind wasn't settling because it's somebody who really doesn't know me that is doing the assessment. So I came back to Ghana and researched who does assessments in Ghana. And I found a lady called Mora. She was at the Rich Hospital. She's a clinical psychologist and licensed for assessment. And I booked appointments with her and I said, Mora, I have assessments ready. I know the answer, but I want you to assess me again. And Mora reassessed me and said, Rosalin, you are dyslexic. You have severe dyslexia.
No, you're not just dyslexic, but severe.
Yeah. So why are you
denying
it when you have the first assessment? And I said, well, I still don't want anything like this on me. And I don't blame the parents who feel shy or they don't want to be associated with it, because even me, I got to that point where I was like, I don't want to be labeled by it. So Maura was the one who said, sit down. Now let's work a bit on you. So as a psychologist, we started digging issues. And then that was where she told me she is also dyslexic, but her is mild dyslexia. And then started giving me all the positive signs about dyslexia and how we are so unique and talented, and it just simply means the world doesn't understand us. Therefore, she said, why do you think you excel in at Liberty? It is because you are a kinesthetic learner, you are a visual learner. That is why you excel. So imagine if your parent had taken you to Liberty when you were like 13 and they started seeing the difficulties and straight away enrolled you into a pathway that you love to do naturally, all this humiliation you had experienced wouldn't have happened. And so it is not your problem. The problem were the people who didn't know how to support you. When that lady said that, I was like, wow. That was where I relaxed.
Angels on assignment.
Yes.
To cool you down. The Springboard Virtual University. I could do this all day. Rosalin, you're a good storyteller. I think your book will be nice. I have a feeling your book will be very nice.
I hope so.
Because you are literally immersed in your story. And as an advocate, you literally are carrying the story almost like on a mission for not just yourself, but everyone else. And you've told the story very well. But we can't sign off without delving into first what you've done since you embarked on the journey with the African Dyslexia Association. So help us to understand what you do.
Okay. So African Dyslexia Organization was started in 2020. This was as a result of me researching in Ghana, the support, and thankful to the career that I have. I travel a lot also on the continent. So before the pandemic, when I go around any African country, I'm asking the knowledge base of educators in the country, and the answer was the same as Ghana. So my dad, I didn't mention to you, my dad is an educationist.
Wow.
So it started with him when he said, I don't really know anything about it. Then I started visiting schools, and usually I target directors of schools and some teachers. And you could speak to like 15 teachers, and maybe one person have heard but don't even know if a child, how they can support a child. So that was where, and when I went to the Ministry of Education and saw the inclusive education policy and saw a huge gap, that we have a very beautiful policy, but it was more towards physical challenges than hidden issues like dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia. So we started Africa Dyslexia Organization with a very intentional goal: is raise awareness, advocacy, provide teachers training, support, research, and then mentor our children and prepare them into their natural ability to focus on career. So this was our aim. And so far we have raised, our awareness reach is about 10 million. So from here later I will ask you, how many reach did we have? And that's how we measure our awareness reach. We have trained teachers on our online program on introductory into dyslexia related learning difficulties. We have trained over 4,000 teachers since June 2020 till date. We have mentored our dyslexic. We've identified students who have been diagnosed or not been diagnosed, but they are having challenge, about 200 of them. And we keep going. Annually, we organize what we call the Dyslexia Education Stakeholders Forum, where we bring very high level decision makers like directors of schools, owners of schools, stakeholders from the UN, UNICEF, all together to dialogue on issues around dyslexia and how we can support our children. So this year is on the October 16th at the Ariane International School. That's where we'll be having this program. Our next 3 years goal, we want to train about 100,000 teachers across Africa. We want to have a train the trainer program, because currently I'm having a training in July for teachers, but I have to bring somebody from the US to train them. We want to get to a point where we don't have to ask people to come down. We want people here to support in other African countries as well. So this is our current goal that we work with. And the
Brilliant.
one exciting one is also finding partnerships with organizations and different bodies that we can define the career path for our dyslexics, because a lot of parents want their children to go into law, go into medicine and all that. But it's not all of us who are good at that. So we need to start orienting, especially the parents that we are meeting that have children that are struggling. We need to start orienting their mind so that we can also build the Richard Bransons, the Chami Kwames, the entire Martin. We can start mentoring them for today, because that is the missing link where a lot of talents are being wasted. But these are the people who can also support us solve the issues that we have in Africa.
Definitely, Springboard will be happy to support and partner with you in anything that you do, because our work is in the same field, working with young people to bring out the best in them. And this series is about exploring untapped opportunities, untapped resources. We've had the Federation for People with Disability come through, and they reminded us about the fact that a whole, is it 8% of our population has a challenge or another. And you are saying that if we went along the lines of dyslexia, we're probably talking about 20%
Absolutely.
of the population. And those are all very, very important learnings that we can work with. So you can count on our support. If somebody wanted to reach out to your organization, can they go to your website? Where can they find you?
We are on the website www.africadyslexia.org, and all our information is listed on www.africadyslexia.org. We are able to refer parents for screening and assessments, refer parents for intervention, and then we provide teacher training. So for schools that are not training their teachers, now we are in the world of inclusion. This is where we need to do better, so we could support schools also in this way.
Let's end on a bright note. What gives you the most joy? For somebody who has suffered so much pain in the past, what gives you the most joy in the work that you do today?
The most joy is that I am helping to prevents a child from going through what I went through. You saw I broke down just by narrating something that has happened over 20 years ago. So that means the pain is still there. And I survived it, but somebody else might not. So that joy for me meeting that parent and say, we met you and now my child is feeling better and feel wealthy, it gives me so much joy. And also one thing that gives me a joy is I know that with the work we're doing in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, we are going to showcase a lot of the Denta Martin, the Nana Nsako, the Ochiame Kwame,
We
the
had Nana
Richard
Sakwa on this
Branson.
show, and he, in fact, he even brought it up. Nana Sakwa brought it up first on this show before we had Ochiame Kwame. Nana did a brilliant, and very touching submission
Yes,
on that.
they all come. We work with all of them, and they've been very supportive of us.
Brilliant. I'll tell you what, it's been a very, very humbling, very rewarding, very instructive, inspiring interaction with you. And if I may, I pray that as you travel around the world doing what you do, God will protect you and preserve you. I pray that He will give you the joy and the fulfillment that comes from legacy, impacting the lives of other people. But my biggest prayer also is that God will surround you with good people who will support you in this effort, because the work is very big and the vision is very big. But I can tell that for many people who need help, your success is their success. And I pray that God gives you even more than you've prayed for. And that will be my prayer for you.
Amen.
If you joined us along the line, it's been a very, very fulfilling conversation with Rosalin Abigail Kyere-Nartey. She has founded the Africa Dyslexia Organization to help parents who don't understand what their children are going through, children who are asking why me, and teachers who are confused about the gap between some students and others, to understand that it is not the devil killing somebody. It's a peculiar challenge children are growing up with, that they can be helped to shine and to flourish as God has designed for them. For you, a parent listening out there who are saying, I need an intervention, I need help. For that child there who is saying, thank God I heard this today, I've been wondering if I'm correct at all. Let me give Rosalin the last words. Look into this camera and talk to somebody who says, I've been told so many times that I'm dumb that I have come to believe it, and help them to know that they are just unique, created in the image of God.
You are not dumb. You're just different. You learn differently. And I want to tell you that if I could be here and even being interviewed by Reverend Albert, if you know my past, then you will see that light. The light is over there. And so I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to ever doubt yourself just because of your challenges to do with education. For parents, please, the best you can do is to show us love and show us empathy. We dyslexics or a child struggling, ask yourself, will a child wake up and say that me, I like that when I go to school, I'll be the last in academic score? No child wants to experience that. So it is not your child's fault. Be your child's advocate. So you get the schools to work together with them so they can provide some individualized experiential learning for your child. Without you, your child cannot make it. So don't leave everything on the school. Be part of the journey and believe that every child can learn, every child is a star, and believe in your child. Thank you.
Wonderfully said. And I believe that every child is a star. Thank you very much, Rosalin, for coming through. And I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have.
I have enjoyed this so much.
Yes,
Thank you
I've
so much.
enjoyed the experience, and I'm more aware by listening to you than I was before you came. So you have one more advocate on this journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This has been Springboard at its best, just learning, just growing together, inspiring each other, and becoming better people as a result. My name is Albert Ocran, thanking you on behalf of the Springboard Roadshow Foundation and our partners, MTN Ghana and the Multimedia Group, and of course the Enterprise Group, as well as the Graphic Communications Group. Till we come your way again next week, pause and look at somebody who seems to be struggling with a new understanding instead of judging them as being dumb and unserious. Till then, God bless you, and